some of the most sexy fragrances that are available out there. Hi everyone, I'm Jolima and welcome back to my channel Scented Moments, where we discuss everything about fragrances. And so in this video we will be diving into the world of allure, sensuality and charm. Yes, my top 10 sexiest fragrances of 2024. Now, before we get started with the list, just wanted to let you know that any of these fragrances that I will feature, they were released this year. But if you like me to, I'm really happy to record and upload a part 2 of this subject with fragrances that were in fact released this year. But the fragrances that I will be showcasing now, they really prove their worth, at least in my experience, and they definitely deserve to be featured and to be mentioned as some of the most sexy fragrances out there. But again, if you want to know what fragrances that were exactly released this year that deserve the mention for this topic, just let me know in the comments down below. Now let's get started with this list. In no specific order, the first one is from the house of Thomas de Monaco, Sol Salgado. And I've been talking about this fragrance so much during this last summer. This fragrance is like it has this sun-kissed vibe into it. It's so full of energy and so full of charm into it, with this salty accord, coconut, florals, and vanilla. It's such a fantastic summery type of fragrance. And in the end, this fragrance really makes me feel warm and full of energy, and it really transmits like an exotic vacation. It's amazing. I highly advise you to check this one out. This is an extrait de parfum. Performance is fantastic, lasts the entire day, and in terms of smell, it's really one of the most sexy fragrances I tried this year. Highly advise you to check this one out. It's Sol Salgado by Thomas de Monaco. The next fragrance, it's such a forgotten one from Amouage, and it is none other than Amouage Journey Man, to be exact. And so this is the bottle, how it looks. I mean, how it looked previously. So Journey Man, again, very forgotten. It's in the shadow of the most recent and popular fragrances from Amouage, but it still deserves the mention as one of the sexiest fragrances out there. This is all about black pepper with some incense, tons of incense actually, leather, tobacco, with a pine needle feel into it, with, I think it has juniper. It's so good. It's very mysterious, dark, and very alluring as well. The incense with the pine needle thing here really gives a very alluring, captivating feel. Love it. It's fantastic, really. It really deserves more love in my view. It's quite unique. Also, it's really one of the best Amouage fragrances out there that are still available, and I highly advise you to check this one out. The performance is fantastic. It's really gentlemanly, sophisticated, mysterious, with a dark edge. Highly advise you to check this one out if you have yet, especially if you want a more dry, non-sweet incense, tobacco, leather, spices. I mean, it has everything to make this as a very sexy fragrance. It's Amouage Journey Man. The next fragrance from the house of Profumum Roma, and it is Dolci Pensieri. I've been talking about this one a lot. Dolci Pensieri is one of the most sexy fragrances that I tried this year, to be honest. And this is all about rose, like a very jammy, sweet rose with spices like saffron, vanilla. And I dare to say that it has a touch of oud, although oud is not featured as a note, at least not an official note. Oh man, it's so decadent, very addicting, very exotic as well. And the performance is fantastic. It's really massive. Like the majority of Profumum Roma fragrances, that are highly concentrated and they really not only last but project. And this fragrance, please do not spray directly in your clothes, as it might stain. But if you do so in a good distance, and then it will stay, the smell will stay on your clothes for a few days. So be prepared for that. But it's a fragrance that it's just wonderful. A fragrance that I just want to keep smelling and smelling over and over again. It's not the most unique DNA. This was released quite recently in 2021. Didn't got much attention, but in the end, Profumum Roma fragrances don't have much attention because of their distribution, and they are not very present in social media, meaning that they don't send full bottles to influencers for free. And this is my favorite perfume house out there. It was always since day one. If you're following this channel for a while, you know that. I'm just not talking about the brand more often just because I don't have my collection of Profumum Roma with me. The majority of my fragrance collection is still in Lisbon, so this is a whole of a process, but gives me opportunity to highlight other brands, other fragrances. But I mean, Profumum Roma, it's always a given, and Dolci Pensieri is one of the sexiest fragrances out there. Again, saffron. Although I don't recall if saffron is featured as an official note, but this really gives vibes of saffron, spicy saffron with this jammy, sweet red rose, with vanilla and some dark woodsy, earthy undertones. Amazing, amazing fragrance right here. The next fragrance from House of Les Indemodables, no surprises here, it's Vanille. And I mean, this is not a sexy list without Vanille. Vanille is really the best in this genre in terms of vanilla, sweet vanilla tobacco fragrances, but not being your typical sweet tobacco scent. It has a natural smelling feel overall. It has also a bitterness. It's not a full-on sweet gourmand type of fragrance. No, it has a bitterness into it that really balances the gourmand takes. This has like a chocolatey cacao feel here, and it really does like a natural cacao note with tobacco, with vanilla, and it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful fragrance. It's their best seller. Now you also have the flanker, which is called Cuir, which I will also add to my collection very soon, which is incredibly expensive, but well, it's basically Vanille with Oud, which really gives an extra layer of depth and mystery and sensuality into it, to be honest, when the Oud is really natural smelling Oud. So I'm really looking forward to add that fragrance in my collection. But Vanille, overall, you don't need the Cuir Oud, you just need to go with this one. It's a masterpiece in itself, in my view. The best from the brand, I would say, and it's just, yeah, it's full of sensuality. It's really a fragrance that everyone should try at least once. It's Vanille by Les Indemodables. The next fragrance, also from a very underrated brand, and it is from Naomi Goodsir, Cuir Velours. It's so damn sensual, this one, and also very underrated. Cuir Velours, it's more of a suede type of fragrance. This fragrance is like for those who love Cuir Beluga from Guerlain, and if you want a bit more oomph, a bit more power into it, a bit more complexity. Now this one, because this is all about suede and immortelle, but also adds rum in the opening with tobacco, more enhanced tobacco, with a more enhanced vanilla, and incense with also a heavy dose of honey. It's such a wonderful fragrance. Now, despite the heavy notes here, it's not a fragrance that it will shout, and that's why it's so sensual and so alluring. It's a fragrance that it will call. It comes and goes. It's a fragrance that it creates an intimate sensual, but you know, that in the cartoons, in the old cartoons like Tom and Jerry, when you have like the pie that it's freshly baked, and then you have the smoke that then turns into like a hand that calls for the cartoon. So it's exactly how this fragrance smells like for me. It has that vibe, like the projection and the scent itself really has that invisible hand that comes out of you and calls for the other person, and even calls for myself, and I just want really to smell myself. So I absolutely love it, and it's a fragrance that really calls for sensuality, for a fragrance that it's full of charm, with the booziness right on top with tons of tobacco, immortelle, suede, incense, honey, and such a wonderful, wonderful fragrance. This also gives me vibes of having like a peachiness in here, but you don't have any peach nor fruity fragrances featured, but it has like a mild peach feel into it in the opening, like a boozy peach. And I highly advise for you to check this one out. It's Cuir Velours by Naomi Goodsir. Now the next video is a fresh fragrance from the house of Hermès, and it is Voyage d'Hermès in this very unique bottle presentation. And this is the Eau de Toilette. I also have the Parfum in Lisbon, but I actually do prefer slightly the Eau de Toilette. The Parfum is very heavy in the lemon and the cardamom as well. This one also, but it's more balanced. I mean, if you want a more cardamom lemon heavy, go with the Parfum. If you want more balance and a bit more transparency, this is the one. And I find this extremely sexy. It's really one of the sexiest fragrances to wear, especially in the summertime, because it has a lemon, it has still cardamom, but it also has like a saltiness into it, and it has almost like a borderline marine accord, not having a marine accord, if that makes sense, with a very musky base. Love this one. This cream summer, like boho chic type of vibe into it, and it's really for me like a reference in terms of summer fragrances. It's also on my summer rotation always, and it's a fragrance that, although it will not last, the performance isn't great, but while it does, it's magical. Love this one. Highly advise for you to check this one out. A very unique take on a fresh summer fragrance with that sensual cardamom on top, and highly advise for you to check this one out if you have yet to. Voyage d'Hermès in the Eau de Toilette. The next fragrance from the house of Tom Ford, and it is Tobacco Oud. And Tobacco Oud is one of the best fragrances from Tom Ford, and it's so damn sexy because it's dark, mysterious, and it's unique at the same time. It's a fragrance that it has the tobacco, it has the oud. I mean, the oud here, it's not your natural smelling oud like an emalic or challenging funky oud. It's more subdued type of oud, because for me what's really the star of this fragrance is the whiskey and the tobacco, of course, and it has like this furry musk in the base that really gives this animalic touch, really gives the sensuality and rough edge to this fragrance, and it's just to die for. I highly advise for you to check this one out if you have yet to. One of the best Tom Ford fragrances currently available, still smells great, and I highly advise for you to check this one out. The performance is massive on my skin, so it's one that really fits all the bills, and it's a great tobacco fragrance, not being sweet. It's also one of those fragrances that it's a tobacco scent, not sweet at all. This doesn't have any sweet edges. It's more dry, more animalic, a bit more challenging, yes, but it has a mysterious and allure feel into it at the same time. Check this one out, Tobacco Oud by Tom Ford. Next fragrance is a classic in this subject. It's Dior Homme Intense. It's still relevant to this day, already a modern classic, but still smells amazingly. This is all about iris. It's powdery, makeup-y iris with cacao, musk, suede, woods, and it's really a reference if you want to have like a mainstream, easy to like, but not often smelled. I mean, I never smelled this one in the wild. I never smelled anything like Dior Homme DNA in the wild, so you will definitely smell unique. And if you want to still capture the intention of the person that it's with you, I think this one is a solid alternative, and it will not break the bank. It's Dior Homme Intense, great performance, and it's a fragrance that, I mean, you cannot go wrong. You simply cannot go wrong. It's a masterpiece for a reason. Still, again, still relevant to this day, and it's sweet done right. Simply put, check this one out, Dior Homme Intense, if you have yet. Now, if you want to have just one fragrance, one very sexy fragrance, and nothing more, and so you will maybe spare more and you will buy like a full 200 ml bottle and just keep it forever, and it will be your reference fragrance in terms of sensuality and sexiness. So it's this one from the house of Chanel, and it is Coromandel. Coromandel, it's simply outstanding with this white chocolatey patchouli aldehydes. It's such a warm, sensual, alluring, addicting fragrance, quite unique take on patchouli, and it's a reference within the Chanel It's exclusives for a reason. Now actually I was debating between this one or Sycamore, which I also absolutely love, one of my all-time favorite perfumes ever, but I decided to go with this one because of that white chocolatey, creamy, slightly sweeter edge, while Sycamore it's more woodsy, slightly dry, although it has that nuttiness, but it's in the end a bit more dry, although still could be featured in this list. I find Sycamore also extremely sexy, but this Coromandel, oh man, a bit ambery, bit incensey as well, dare I say, bit incensey I would say, spicy, creamy, with that definitely the patchouli with this white chocolatey nuance with vanilla. It's what really stands out in this fragrance, but you can see as well the aldehyde that gives like a touch of elegance and balance, the sweetness, and the incense is also here. Yeah, and it's a fragrance that, man, you really need to get your nose on this one if you haven't yet. Check this one out, and if you really have to have just one, go with this one. Spare a bit and just go with Coromandel. It's really worth it. And my version is Eau de Parfum. Never tried Eau de Toilette, but I'm really happy to have the Eau de Parfum version of Coromandel. And last but by no means least, this would not be a top 10 sexy fragrance list without this fragrance from Ramon, Monegal, Faisa. And if you're following this channel for a while, you know that this fragrance would come up. If you haven't read the description box, because I always mention the fragrances that I will be mentioning in this video, I'll always write down the name in the description below. So, I mean, if you haven't read the description box and you know this channel, I mean, you know my taste, you know that this fragrance would come up. It would be only a matter of time. So Faisa, I mean, what there is still to say about Faisa. This fragrance is one of my most complimented fragrances ever. It's a fragrance that it's full of contrasts. You have so many notes in here. You have the mimosa, big dose of mimosa. You have your amber, you have your saffron, raspberry, rose, oud, vanilla, full of contrasts. And it's really the color that the scent transmits is really this goldish, yellowy type of color that really transmits a feel of being luxurious, regal, and yet playful at the same time. Again, fragrance full of contrasts. And it's a fragrance that it's a powerhouse of a perfume. So it's a fragrance that it will definitely call attention, and you really need to go easy on the trigger here because you might even choke yourself, which is not good. So a couple sprays, really it's enough, and you really have people wondering what you're wearing. At least it did happen with me while I was hanging out with friends. Even with my fiance, she always asks me about this fragrance. I mean, every time I'm wearing it, she's always complimenting me. It's really that good. It's a fragrance that it's really that good. Spicy, floral, sweet, ambery, woodsy fragrance that everyone should try. It's Ramon Monegal's Faisa. Finishing this video, guys, let me know in the comments down below if you like this video, what are some of the sexy fragrances in your collection, and if you find value in this video, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and again, let me know if you want a part 2 featuring fragrances that were indeed released this year. Thank you so much for your support, and I see you in the next one. Take care.